There are many people who have ideas they believe can make an impact, maybe make life easier, be the next big thing. Some may call them dreamers. But what if you had the right space and support to make those ideas a reality?
An innovation hub located in the heart of downtown Peoria, serving the entire region that will connect founders, small businesses, entrepreneurs. So we just mix everyone together. And then that's where those collisions and the curated serendipity happens that I think will be some great successes come out of that.
That's Doug Cruitt, Executive Director of Distillery Labs, and I'm Shelli Dankoff, your host for OSF HealthCare Accelerated. We appreciate you tuning in and remind you to be sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcast. We're going to do a little bit of time traveling on this episode of OSF HealthCare Accelerated. In 2018, in fact, even before that, there were the initial discussions and visions of what would eventually become Distillery Labs. Flash forward to current day through multiple design changes, a couple of executive directors, and a global pandemic, and Distillery Labs has officially opened its doors and is set to become a cornerstone of innovation and entrepreneurship for the greater Peoria region. Joining me to talk about what Distillery Labs is and will become are Doug Cruitt, the Executive Director of Distillery Labs, and Kip McCoy, the Vice President of Innovation Studio for OSF Healthcare. This is going to be a fun conversation. I'm going to start with Doug.
Okay.
Let's talk about what Distillery Labs is. Give me that 30-second elevator speech. Distillery Labs is
an innovation hub located in the heart of downtown Peoria, serving the entire region that will connect founders, small businesses, entrepreneurs with all of the resources and tools they need, whether it's capital, mentors, co-founders, employees, etc.
And I'm going to turn to Kip now because, as I mentioned, we're doing a little bit of time traveling, and you've been involved in this process from the very beginning, from the OSF healthcare side of things. So walk us through where we started and how we got to where we are today.
Yeah, happy to do that. Really got involved in 2018 when the Illinois Innovation Network launched that the state of Illinois had underway. The primary catalyst for that was something called Discovery Partners Institute out of Chicago, and a way for the University of Illinois to further connect to business and opportunity, and really finding a way for their students to find new opportunities and to drive more business in the state of Illinois. The state recognized and realized that they also needed to bring together other communities and other institutes of higher learning. So all of the non-for-profit academic institutions in the state of Illinois. And in Peoria, OSF has had a long-standing relationship with the university, both University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign through our Arches and other endowed programs, as well as through the College of Medicine here. So OSF was a logical choice to be the entity that was going to carry forward the hub that was going to be here in Peoria. So in 2018, we really set out to, I would say, differentiate the hub that we were going to have here in Peoria, that it wasn't necessarily going to be tied to an academic institution. We really wanted it to be a hub of innovation and entrepreneurship where we could connect existing corporate entities like OSF, like Caterpillar, research institutions like the Ag Lab, with the startup community, and really bring that mix and blend together that would continue to transform the local economy.
Let's quick explain where the name Distillery Labs comes from, because, there's one thing about being innovative, but that seems way out here. So explain where Distillery Labs, the name, came from.
Do you want to give the history of that conversation?
Yeah, sure. We started out as the Peoria Innovation Hub, which
not exactly exciting,
that doesn't exactly hit. So we went through some brainstorming and a lot of different potential naming conventions. We always wanted to kind of came back to that history that Peoria had as, at one point in time, pre-Prohibition, the distilling capital of the world. And what we wanted to bring in is the essence of not distilling alcohol or grains, but how do we distill ideas? How do we bring together those who have interesting concepts, but maybe don't know how to execute on those or be able to truly understand, is this something I should continue to pursue? What resources do I need to do that? So we wanted to kind of play on the history of Peoria as the distilling capital, but now looking at how we distill innovation and ideas to bring together startup companies.
And Doug, you are the second executive director for the space since it has been announced. And
Two and a half. There was an interim there.
Oh yeah, there was the interim. Yes, I'd be very remiss if I didn't acknowledge Chris on that one. Yes, but what drew you when this opportunity came up? Why? Why did you say, okay, I want to go do that?
Well, it's funny how the universe works, right? I was already volunteering as a mentor for the G-Beta Accelerator program. I've been a founder myself for 20 years, a lot of it in the health tech space. I've been in the trough of despair and the mountain of exhilaration and success, and so I'm always drawn back to that. And so whenever I was volunteering as a mentor for free, this opportunity kind of came up and was like, wait a minute, they're going to pay someone to do this? And
cool.
Yeah, and I truly feel it's my calling. Coming from a small town, third generation Eagle Scout, you serve your community. That's what you do. So that's ingrained in me. And then being an entrepreneur, that's ingrained in me. So it's just like merging my two passions into one.
So you talk about founders and all sorts of other terms. What exactly, and then also describe the space, the different components that are in the space. We should mention, it's in a 2-story building that was used to house Illinois Central College's downtown campus on Southwest Adams Street in downtown Peoria. And you had to get rid of that purely academic look to it and make it more of this innovative, entrepreneur, welcoming kind of space. So walk me through the different areas that are in the space and what will happen there.
Yeah, great question. I love the space. So it's 30,000 square foot of space, like you mentioned, on 2 different floors. 27,000 of those feet are for our members. And so as a member, that means you're a founder, a co-founder, you can be a mentor, or someone that just serves small businesses and entrepreneurs. So we have venture capital in there, angel investors, OSF Innovation in there. We have the GPEDC, the Chamber of Commerce. So all these support people are in there that can provide their expertise for founders, so new startups and entrepreneurs. And then throughout the building, we have co-working space. So that really minimizes the investment for, say you're a solo founder and you've been working out of your house and now you're like, this is getting real, I have an opportunity here, I need help. So we have classroom space, we have larger office space that you can rent for, say, if you're doing customer discovery, doing a focus group, or you have a group of potential investors come in. We have our maker space there. We have our commercial kitchen, podcast studio, photography studio. So a lot of resources under one roof that no matter what industry you're in or stage of your entrepreneurial journey that you're in, there's something for you. And then we mix all that together with the 3,000 square foot that is open to the entire community, which will be a coffee shop run by a local family that owns another coffee shop up in the Heights. So we just mix everyone together. And then that's where those collisions and the curated serendipity happens that I think will be some great successes come out of that. Even
the story of the coffee shop. I mean, it's another startup so they're living what you're promoting, aren't they? Mm-hmm. They went through, they had this dream, and here they are.
Right. And I mean, you go back to their story, he moved here in 1982 from Colombia, South America, and has never left. And so he's raised his family, got his education here, had his corporate job, and then had this itch. I want to do something different. And now we're helping them to expand and already starting to create some of these partnerships because they own the other end of the supply chain. They own the coffee plantation in Colombia. Now we get to kind of toy around with some ag tech innovation that we have up here. And hey, can we move that down there? And how could they leverage that? So then it also becomes another story we can tell. You come in, you buy a cup of coffee. One, part of those proceeds go right back into funding our local entrepreneurs. But 2, you're probably supporting a very specific idea or innovation somewhere along that supply chain.
The makerspace is, I mean, in your mind you may think, oh, it's this stuffy. No, it's tables, it's come in, it's use it, isn't it? It's just there. It's a lot of tables, it's a lot of space, but it's where you put your fingers in and get them dirty and make use of it, right?
Right. And so it's as founders, we just want to try to remove as much friction or headwinds, whatever term you want to use, for founders, and especially those ones, they just have an idea and they don't have any capital and they're probably living paycheck to paycheck. They have a job, but then they have this passion or potential calling on this other side. So when you talk about, prototyping and building things with 3D printers, a lot of us, like, you can't just go out and buy that. Well, come in and use ours. Build your prototype. Now you have something tangible to go to potential customers or investors and say, hey, I was thinking of this widget and it solves this problem. What do you think? And then it could be sewing, fashion design. So there's a lot of different bits of equipment. So it comes back to providing the tools and equipment for these founders. That's what we want to provide in that space.
And if you want to see a commercial kitchen on steroids, you should see this kitchen. You have some really grand plans for that space, don't you?
Yes, we do. So we talk about kind of the 4 check boxes that for anything that Distillery Labs does, we want to educate, motivate, inspire, and connect. And whenever we go into that beautiful commercial kitchen, that's when we get to have fun with that. And so we can partner with OSF dietitians. Hey, come in. It's a classroom space. We could seat about 20 people in there. So, if you or a family member, you have diabetes and you're new to that, what does that mean? What do I do? Well, here's some healthy meals. And it's a place that you can also live stream. So now it's not just the 20 people in those chairs. Now we can then live stream, but also record, so we can start to build this library, a database. So there's an educational component. There's the entrepreneurial component. You thinking about opening up a restaurant or starting a new line of barbecue sauce, or your grandma's chicken pot pie recipe is amazing and you're like, hey, I should freeze this and sell it across the world. We can help you with the cooking portion where you test it in a very nice commercial kitchen, but also we can provide the business support. And also the fun part is now we can start having cooking competitions. We can have not just the competitions, but you can actually film your own cooking show. So it's going to be a lot of fun, especially just to be a tenant in there walking through and, need a food taster. Okay.
Here's lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say it's an amazing space, and you really can't appreciate it without seeing it in person. And that inspires innovators, inspires those who are maybe looking to do something different or even branch out with something they already have. I know Doug's been doing a lot of tours, community tours, where people have been able to come in and see the space. And I mean, I've seen the reactions of people when we've gone through. Had a couple of people from my team that have gone through as well, and it's just sparked interesting conversations. And I didn't know we could do this here, and talking about maybe the types of classes that we could shift or have there on occasion from an OSF perspective with our STEAM program or other things like that, where you're really convening and getting people together in new and different ways. And as Doug said, it's those connections and some of that serendipity that without those purposeful collisions, they're just not going to happen.
Where you're sitting at, the impact on the greater Peoria region, not only financially, but intellectually and everything. Does that excite you about all of this?
Oh yeah. I had a background in economic development, which I was in a role for almost a decade here in the Peoria area, and just thinking about what can launch and happen out of centers like this is just incredible. You never know what the next thing is going to be, and so being able to provide the tools, the resources, and really being able to come around some of these new opportunities, these startups from a almost community perspective, where they feel understood and known and can get the different resources that they need, that makes it just such a huge difference to the success of those types of companies. And I think when we look out 5, 10, 15 years from now, we're going to be amazed about what started there and where we see things growing.
Yeah, there's an increasing energy in downtown Peoria where it's noticeable if you work here. Because for the longest time, there was nothing going on in downtown, and there was that fear that what happens. And you're feeling the energy, and you're seeing the people, and this will just add to it. But we also need to mention, it's not just about downtown Peoria and not just about Peoria proper. This is a regional draw. We want people to come in. Well, even we had recent guests that came in from another country.
Right.
And there could be opportunities. Correct?
That is correct. And so that, as an example, kind of going back to what could happen out of this space and what does that mean. So we had 33 delegates from Brazil come up, Industry 4.0 in manufacturing, ag tech, research, academia. And we put them all in the building, and we shook things up with some of our local founders and stakeholders and mentors and advisors. And out of that, it was a 2-hour event, I think. Out of that, 2, possibly 3 companies from Brazil want to move up here. And one of our local founders is now flying down to Brazil this weekend because a big holding company is looking at purchasing her company, her startup.
Wow.
Isn't that wild?
That's crazy. So that leads me to the next question, and I get it all the time supporting OSF Healthcare and all that we do and offer and the Medical Destination Center, and we do a ton of stuff. Let's be real. It's the reality of it. And people say, Peoria, and they turn their head sideways and look at me, and I'm just like, yeah, why not Peoria? And they always seem surprised. So I'm guessing you hear that regularly. This is in Peoria? Question mark.
Do. That's, as Kip was saying, as we take people through tours, that's the comment I heard more than anything else is, I can't believe this is in Peoria. And admittedly, I kind of felt the same way. I'm like, once the furniture started going in, it looks so nice. And then you start thinking, well, why shouldn't it be in Peoria? Like, why not? This region has massive amount of PhDs and patents being filed and just so much innovation going on. We deserve it, right? Like, we have a rich history on being innovative, everything back from penicillin to diesel engines and moving earth and all sorts
even
of
distilleries.
Things. Right, even the
right.
whiskey. So those are all things that we should be proud of. We should embrace that, and we should choose to have this mindset that it should be in Peoria. We are the first of those 15 hubs throughout the entire state for the Illinois Innovation Network to open. And so they're already looking to Peoria as a leader. And because we're not embedded directly within a public university system, that also makes us a little more agile. And so we're starting to create some of these programming events and fellowships that out of it, we can really set ourselves apart as a true leader for entrepreneurs and startup founders.
Yeah, Kip, you've seen a lot of the work through OSF Innovation, some of the things that Doug's alluding to that we can develop and grow in this area. Are you excited about the expanded possibilities?
Oh, for sure. When I think about the role that OSF Innovation can play and the way that we can connect with some of the startup scene, the way that we can continue to, I think, launch businesses and opportunities that are coming out of the innovation space at OSF, that it makes so much sense to be able to have Distillery Labs here, both from a physical standpoint, because it's where you can go work on your business, have some space to be able to do that, but it's also all those resources and all those programs that are there. And I think it's a big kudos to the community for the multiple years that we were waiting, that it was still top of mind for a lot of people. We were still doing a lot of programming, still doing things that were related to Distillery Labs, building the brand. And I think, with the culmination of the building, all of that now can just be totally accelerated.
Anybody who saw the initial plans for that building, because I remember seeing what the initial drawings look like. This space looks nothing like that. So just know that. If you saw them and went, oh, that looks a little sterile around the edges, this isn't that. It is a warm, welcoming, it feels like Silicon Valley in a lot of ways. It really does. There's some really super cool spaces in it. So that leads me to my next question. If somebody is listening to or watching this and saying, okay, I want to do that, I want to come see that, what do they have to do?
Right. Well, the quick and easy thing is go to our website, connect with us on socials. We will be rolling out a lot more events, everything from Fail Club, which we've been doing. So we're going to focus on founder mindset, talk about failure, talk about quitting, talk about depression and all these things, because it builds a stronger foundation and a more realistic expectation for founders as you're coming in. So events like that, and then just come in. Like we design the space so that we have our innovation hub and we have a coffee shop. Anybody can come into that coffee shop during normal business hours. And so you come in to the coffee shop, and then instead of drinking your coffee and looking out at the street, you could be looking at OSF Innovation, tinkering on something in the makerspace, or some founder that's working on, something that could potentially become a unicorn. And that's what's so exciting about, coming into the space. There's no pressure, no stress, because a lot of our founders, because of the mindset, they just think they're not good enough, smart enough, don't have the connections, don't have the money. And as a founder, we all have felt that. And to remove some of the pressure, just go get a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
That's it. Go sit by yourself if you want. It doesn't matter.
I think one of the things we have going for us as Peoria, it's, I think, a very connected, in a good way, type of community. And even when the Brazilian folks were here last week, it was just so different for them to be welcomed in a way that they hadn't been necessarily welcomed in other communities, and being able to just almost immediately get connected to the community in a way that they hadn't in other places that they had visited. And I feel like in Peoria, you're kind of like one connection away from the right person or the right opportunity. And Distillery Labs is going to exemplify how we can do that and leverage the resources and the assets that we have here to really take the community to the next level.
And that website is?
DistilleryLabs.org.
And we will put that in the show notes too, just so in case you don't want to rewind and listen to it, but we'll get that to you. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up with, we're looking 5-10 years down the road. I want both of you to give me your vision where, I'll start with Kip. You're 5 years down the road and then 10 years down the road. What do you see for Distillery Labs?
Well, I see a bustling place with entrepreneurs and founders of all ages that are there, spanning the gamut from those who are high school, college-age students who are tinkering. But I also see 5 to 10 years out where we have continued interest and investment from our corporate partners as well, and looking at ways that they might be able to start new parts of their business, connect with customers, connect with startups in ways that they haven't done before, that will be able to not only grow those startups, but grow their businesses as well. And I hopefully see us having a real estate problem. We have all these successful companies that are trying to find space in downtown Peoria, throughout the region, as they're adding more and more employees and driving towards global growth.
I agree with all of that. And
What he said.
yeah, you think 10 years down the road, and this is a long-term strategy of what we have. That's why we talk about founder mindset, and it's not just active founders now. It's our obligation and our responsibility, I think, as those that are doing it every day, to lead by example and to show the next generation. So what I'm super excited about is in 10 years, the people that are maybe the kids that are in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade now, what if they grow up in a community where it's okay to fail, where it's okay to quit? Because quitting is not always a bad thing. It can actually be a superpower if you know how and when to do it in the business world. And so 10 years out, I think we'll really start to see the fruits of our labor and the why behind all of this. It is, but it's not just to get our current founders the capital, the resources they need. It's also to make sure that we are all leading by example, so that 10 years from now, our kids are just, let's take a shot. Let's take that risk. Let's start this business. Let's add value back into the world. Let's make our lives better. And I think that's, at that point in time, when it's just that simple, that we have the next generation that just grows up not knowing any different, that's success, and that is when you'll start to see Peoria, if not sooner, on these lists of top 25 greatest startup communities in the world. And I am fully confident we will get there.
I wish these two had a little more enthusiasm for this topic when we talk. We could probably sit here and go on for several hours, but we won't because they're busy doing all of these things. Doug Cruitt, Kip McCoy, thank you for the conversation. I'll hold you to, maybe in a year or two, we'll come sit back here and see where we're at and talk about those success stories and those successful failures and how that works too. So thank you for taking time to be with us today to discuss this. And we thank you for being with us as well, and remind you that you can check out all of the OSF Healthcare Accelerated podcasts by going online to osfhealthcare.org/accelerated.